What if the pain, rejection, and loneliness you've faced your entire life were never random, but proof that darkness recognized your power before you did? Tonight, Archangel Michael has a warning for the chosen ones, because they fear who you are becoming. There's a reason your life became harder the moment you started changing spiritually, a reason people suddenly turn against you, and a reason you've always felt different from everyone around you. Stay until the end, because before this video is over, you may finally understand why darkness has been trying to stop your awakening your entire life. Chosen one, this message is not reaching you by accident. Archangel Michael says the moment you clicked on this video, something in your spirit already knew there was a deeper truth waiting to be revealed. Because for years, you have carried a feeling you could never fully explain. A feeling that you were different. Different from your family. Different from the people around you. Different from the world itself. And no matter how hard you try to live like everyone else, something inside you always resisted it. Michael says that feeling was never your imagination. It was your spirit remembering that you were never meant to fully belong to this world. There's a reason your soul feels exhausted in certain environments. A reason fake people drain your energy almost instantly. A reason you can sense things before they happen. A reason people misunderstand you even when your heart is pure. You thought your sensitivity was weakness, but heaven says it is spiritual awareness. You thought your loneliness was punishment, but Michael says isolation was preparing you for awakening. And you thought the constant battles in your life were random. But the truth is far more serious than you realize. Because darkness does not waste energy attacking ordinary souls. The enemy attacks people carrying divine purpose. Think about your life carefully. Why did certain people dislike you before even knowing you? Why did betrayal follow you even when your intentions were good? Why did opportunities collapse right before breakthrough? Why did you spend years fighting invisible emotional battles nobody else seemed to understand? Michael says it happened because your spirit carries light that threatens darkness. Even before your awakening, your presence disturbed lower energies. That is why some people felt uncomfortable around you without explanation. Your energy exposed things they were trying to hide inside themselves. And instead of healing, they attacked you. Chosen one, many of the battles you faced were spiritual long before they became physical. But here is what darkness never expected. You survived. You survived the betrayal. You survived the loneliness. You survived the rejection. You survived the confusion. And the fact that you are still here listening to this message means heaven has not finished with your story. Michael says many chosen ones are now entering a powerful season of awakening. A season where hidden truth begins surfacing rapidly. A season where old connections start breaking apart. A season where your spirit can no longer tolerate fake environments, fake relationships, or fake versions of yourself. And while this transformation feels painful, it is necessary. Because you cannot step into your divine purpose while remaining attached to people and places designed to keep you spiritually asleep. Some people around you only knew the broken version of you, the smaller version, the exhausted version. But Michael says heaven is removing everything that blocks your next level. And this is why your life may feel unstable recently. Relationships changing suddenly. Emotions becoming stronger. Your intuition increasing. Your desire for solitude growing deeper. These are not signs you are losing yourself. These are signs you are awakening. But listen carefully, awakening always comes with resistance. The closer you get to discovering your true purpose, the more spiritual pressure appears. Because darkness knows something most people do not. Once a chosen one fully awakens, they become difficult to manipulate. Fear stops controlling them. Approval stops controlling them. Toxic attachments stop controlling them. And that freedom terrifies the enemy. That is why Michael says you must stop doubting yourself. Stop apologizing for being different. Stop shrinking your spirit to make insecure people comfortable. Stop ignoring your intuition just because others cannot understand it. You are not created to blend into darkness. You were sent to expose it. And in the next part, Archangel Michael will reveal the hidden signs that prove your awakening has already begun. the spiritual attacks most chosen ones never recognize, and the shocking reason your life started changing the moment your soul began rising into higher alignment. Chosen one, Archangel Michael, says the moment your spirit begins awakening, everything around you starts changing in ways that feel almost impossible to explain. At first, it happens quietly. You begin noticing things other people ignore. You start sensing hidden energy behind words. You feel uncomfortable in places that once felt normal. And suddenly, the life you used to tolerate starts feeling spiritually heavy. Michael says this is one of the clearest signs your soul is rising in a higher alignment. Because awakening does not simply change your thoughts, it changes your frequency. And once your frequency changes, certain people can no longer connect to you the same way. This is why some relationships in your life suddenly became distant. People who once understood you now misunderstand you. People who once supported you now criticize you. And some people completely disappeared without explanation. At first, you blamed yourself. You wondered if you changed too much, if you became harder to love, if maybe you were the problem. But Michael says the truth is deeper than that. Your spirit outgrew environments that were no longer aligned with your destiny. And when that happens, separation becomes unavoidable. Chosen one, hear this carefully. Not every relationship lost in your awakening was meant to be saved. Some people were assignments. Some are lessons. Some are distractions sent to delay your purpose. And heaven removes what can no longer travel with you. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels lonely. But every painful separation creates space for divine alignment. Michael says many chosen ones delay their next season because they keep trying to revive connections heaven already ended. They keep chasing people who emotionally abandon them. They keep begging for understanding from people committed to misunderstanding them. But your awakening requires release. You cannot rise while dragging old energy behind you. And this leads to one of the most painful truths Michael wants you to understand tonight. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones most threatened by your transformation. Not because they consciously hate you, but because your growth forces them to confront their own stagnation. Your healing reminds them they avoided healing. Your discipline reminds them of their excuses. Your awakening exposes their spiritual sleep. And instead of growing with you, some choose to fight you. This is why chosen ones often experience intense betrayal before breakthrough. The betrayal was not random. It was separation before elevation. Michael says many of the attacks against you were designed for one purpose only, to make you doubt yourself before your gifts fully activated. Because darkness knows something powerful about awakened souls. Once you truly see your value, manipulation stops working. That is why the enemy worked so hard to break your confidence. Think about it. How many times did people make you feel too sensitive, too emotional, too different, too intense, too spiritual? Over time, you started suppressing your true nature just to survive around others. But Michael says your sensitivity was never weakness. It was discernment. You were detecting energy others could not feel. You noticed hidden motives quickly. You sensed fake behavior instantly. You felt danger before it appeared physically. And many times, your intuition tried to warn you before betrayal happened. But because you wanted to believe the best in people, you ignored the warning. Chosen one, never ignore what your spirit feels repeatedly. Michael says heaven speaks through discernment long before disaster appears. That uncomfortable feeling, that heaviness, that inner warning you cannot explain, pay attention to it. Your spirit sees beyond appearances, and now your gifts are becoming stronger. Many chosen ones watching this are experiencing strange spiritual signs lately. Vivid dreams, repeated numbers, sudden emotional waves, powerful intuition, feeling energy intensely around certain people. Some of you wake up exhausted after spiritual battles and dreams. Some of you feel overwhelming pressure right before breakthrough moments. Some of you feel called into isolation without understanding why. Michael says none of this is accidental. Your spirit is being prepared. Because once heaven begins activating your deeper gifts, your life can never return to unconscious living again. And this is where many people become afraid, because awakening destroys illusions permanently. You begin seeing people for who they truly are. You begin recognizing manipulation immediately. You stop tolerating fake love and fake loyalty. And when you stop accepting less, many people lose access to you. Chosen one, Michael says your isolation was not abandonment. It was protection. Heaven had to separate you from certain energies before your next level could begin. Some people around you are draining your spirit slowly. Some are secretly jealous of your light. Some smiled in your face while praying for your downfall behind closed doors. And your awakening started exposing everything hidden. This is why your circle became smaller. But Michael says do not fear the solitude, because isolation is often where heaven speaks the loudest. When distractions disappear, clarity arrives. And soon, the confusion you carried for years will begin dissolving rapidly. You will start understanding why certain doors closed, why certain people left, why your life unfolded differently from others. Because you were never meant for an ordinary path. You were chosen for spiritual purpose. And purpose always requires transformation. But listen carefully. The next stage of your awakening will challenge you deeply. Because Michael says darkness is about to realize you're no longer spiritually asleep. And when that happens, the attacks become more intense. Not because you're losing, but because you're getting closer to becoming who heaven created you to be. In the next part, Archangel Michael will reveal the terrifying spiritual tactics used to keep chosen ones trapped in fear, the hidden war happening around your energy, and the powerful shift that occurs the moment you fully stop doubting your divine assignment. Chosen one, Archangel Michael says there is a hidden war happening around your life that most people will never fully understand. A war over your focus, a war over your energy, a war over your destiny. And the terrifying part is this. Most chosen ones do not realize they are under spiritual attack until the damage has already been done. Because darkness rarely arrives looking dangerous. It arrives disguised as distraction, confusion, emotional exhaustion, temptation, fear, doubt. Michael says the enemy's greatest strategy is not always destruction. Sometimes it is simply delay. If darkness cannot completely stop your purpose, it will try to exhaust you until you stop believing in yourself. That is why so many chosen ones spend years trapped in cycles they cannot explain. One moment you feel motivated and spiritually strong. Then suddenly a wave of heaviness hits your mind for no reason. You begin doubting your future, doubting your gifts, doubting your worth. And slowly, you lose momentum. Michael says many of these battles are spiritual long before they become emotional. Because the enemy understands something extremely important about awakened souls. Your thoughts shape your reality. If darkness can control your mind, it can weaken your direction. That is why chosen ones often experience intense mental warfare. Overthinking, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. And after years of pain, many begin unconsciously expecting disappointment. But Michael says tonight, you must understand something clearly. Those thoughts were not always your truth. Many of them were planted through repeated wounds, repeated betrayal, repeated emotional attacks designed to make you forget who you are. Because a chosen one who remembers their power becomes dangerous to darkness. That is why the enemy worked so hard to break your confidence early in life. Some of you experienced rejection in childhood. Others experienced abandonment. Some faced emotional manipulation from people you trusted deeply. And over time, those experiences created hidden wounds inside your spirit. Wounds that whispered, "You are not enough. You will always be alone. You will never succeed. You are too broken." But Michael says those lies were never your identity. They were chains placed over your mind to keep your spirit small. And now heaven is breaking those chains. Chosen one, the reason your awakening feels painful is because illusions are dying inside you. You are no longer tolerating false versions of yourself. The people-pleasing version, the fearful version, the insecure version. Those identities are collapsing because your real self is finally trying to emerge. And whenever transformation begins, internal conflict appears first. Michael says many chosen ones mistake this battle for failure. But you are not failing. You are shedding old programming. You are unlearning survival patterns that kept you spiritually trapped for years. That is why your spirit feels restless lately. Part of you is trying to move forward, while another part still fears the unknown. But hear this carefully chosen one. Your future requires a version of you that no longer operates from fear. Because where heaven is taking you, fear cannot lead. And this is exactly why darkness attacks your confidence so aggressively. If you fully trusted your intuition, you would move differently. If you fully believed in your gifts, you would stop settling. If you fully understood your value, you would walk away from toxic environments permanently. So the enemy keeps trying to make you question yourself. Michael says many chosen ones secretly know what they should do, but fear keeps delaying action. You know certain people are unhealthy for your spirit. You know certain habits are draining your energy. You know certain environments are slowing your growth. But because change feels uncomfortable, you remain connected to what heaven is trying to remove. Chosen one, delayed obedience creates prolonged suffering. And tonight, Michael is asking you to trust your spirit again. Trust what your soul has been showing you repeatedly, because your discernment has become sharper for a reason. You're beginning to see beyond appearances now. You notice hidden jealousy faster. You recognize manipulation quicker. You feel energy shifts immediately. And some of you have started noticing something even stranger. The more spiritually focused you become, the more resistance appears around your life. People suddenly create conflict. Unexpected distractions arise. Emotional heaviness increases before important breakthroughs. Michael says this happens because your light is expanding, and darkness reacts whenever divine energy starts increasing inside a chosen one. But do not fear the resistance. Resistance is confirmation that movement is happening. No one attacks what carries no purpose. And the fact that you survived every attempt to break you proves your assignment is still active. Chosen one, there is also another reason your life became difficult after awakening. You started outgrowing environments built on illusion. Fake friendships began collapsing. Surface-level conversations became unbearable. You stopped feeling connected to things that once distracted you. Because your spirit no longer wants temporary fulfillment. It wants alignment. And alignment changes everything. Michael says many chosen ones are entering a season where they will finally stop betraying themselves just to keep others comfortable. You will stop begging for love that lacks honesty. You will stop shrinking your light to avoid criticism. You will stop carrying emotional burdens that were never yours to carry. And yes, some people will call you cold for changing. But Michael says protecting your peace is not selfish. It is spiritual survival. Chosen one, Archangel Michael says the version of you that is emerging now is not the same person who began this journey. Something inside you has changed permanently. You see differently now. You feel differently now. You move differently now. The things that once controlled you no longer have the same power over your spirit. And even though the transformation has been painful, Michael says it was necessary for your awakening. Because heaven could not reveal your full purpose while you were still emotionally attached to things designed to destroy your peace. That is why certain people had to leave. That is why certain doors had to close. That is why some seasons felt unbearably lonely. It was separation before elevation. Chosen one, for years you questioned why your path felt harder than everyone else's. But Michael says difficult paths are often given to powerful souls. Because ordinary pressure could never create the spiritual strength your assignment requires. And now, after everything you survived, your gifts are becoming impossible to ignore. Your intuition has become stronger, your discernment sharper, your spirit more sensitive to truth and deception. You can now feel energy before words are spoken. You can sense hidden motives faster than before. You notice spiritual heaviness immediately when entering certain environments. Michael says these are not coincidences. Your spiritual senses are activating. And this is exactly why some people suddenly become uncomfortable around you. Because awakened energy exposes hidden darkness automatically. You no longer resonate with fake behavior. You no longer tolerate manipulation. You no longer chase validation from people who never valued your spirit correctly. And the more confident you become in your divine identity, the more difficult it becomes for darkness to influence your life. That is why the enemy fears who you are becoming, not because of who you were yesterday, but because of who you are awakening into right now. A chosen one who fully remembers their worth becomes spiritually unstoppable. Fear loses control. Manipulation loses power. Toxic attachment loses influence. And once that happens, your entire reality begins changing rapidly. Michael says many chosen ones are about to enter a season of divine acceleration. Unexpected opportunities, powerful connections, sudden clarity, spiritual breakthroughs. Things that felt delayed for years will suddenly begin moving quickly. But hear this carefully chosen one. You must remain spiritually disciplined during this next season, because growth attracts attention. Not everyone celebrating you secretly wants the best for you. Not every opportunity is aligned with your purpose. Not every connection deserves access to your energy. Discernment will become more important than ever before. Michael says your peace is sacred now. Protect it. Protect your mind from negativity. Protect your spirit from manipulation. Protect your energy from people who only appear when they need something from you. And most importantly, stop doubting the calling placed over your life. You're not crazy for feeling different. You're not weak for feeling deeply. You are not broken because this world never fully understood you. You were created with spiritual sensitivity for a reason, because your mission was never ordinary. And although darkness tried repeatedly to break your spirit, you survived every attack sent against you. That alone proves heaven's hand has remained over your life the entire time. Chosen one, the next chapter of your journey will require courage. Some people will misunderstand your transformation. Some will call you distant because you finally stopped tolerating disrespect. Some will become angry because your light forces them to confront their own darkness. Let them misunderstand. You cannot shrink your soul just to remain acceptable to people committed to staying asleep. Michael says your purpose is bigger than public approval. You were not sent here to fit into darkness. You were sent here to carry light through it. And one day, you will look back at every painful season and finally understand why nothing in your life happened by accident. The betrayal built discernment. The loneliness built spiritual strength. The rejection built independence. The delays built endurance. Everything prepared you for this awakening. So tonight, stop seeing yourself as cursed. You were chosen, and heaven says your story is only beginning. If this message resonated deep in your spirit, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with another chosen one who needs this message tonight. And chosen one, don't leave yet. Watch my recent video on the screen right now, because Archangel Michael revealed another urgent message that connects directly to your awakening journey. And what you discover there may explain the next powerful shift about to happen in your life.